Thanks for joining us for Tuesday's Elko Live here on KELK. I'm so pleased to feature our guest today on behalf of the City of Elko. We have our Elko City Clerk, Annette Robinson, returning. And Annette, it is a pleasure to see you here in studio. And I hear nothing but wonderful remarks about how well you're doing your job. And that's at City Council meetings. People are just really pleased, Annette.
Thank you so much, Lori, for having me here. And thanks for the kudos there.
Absolutely. She jumped into a big job, and Elko City Clerk is sort of looks, not really overseas, but I mean, a lot of things come into the city clerk's office that you kind of get to pick and choose and sort what might go where. A lot of inquiries.
A lot of inquiries, yes. So our responsibilities at the city clerk is records management for the city. So all documents come through the city clerk's office. I have a staff of the three of us. So I have Sarah, who's over business license, and I have Nicole, who's over transient lodging tax, cemetery plots, prevailing wages. So she's got a lot on her plate, too. But we're mostly like records management. Of course, we're in charge of the minutes for councils and advisory boards. Of course, the business license, cemetery plots, transient lodging tax, dog and cat fancier permits. We're also in charge of helping with contracts and the bidding process and prevailing wages, checking prevailing wages on all contracts that we have, because, prevailing wages state mandated on, every year they've got a fee schedule, so we have to make sure that all people working on our contracts are, being paid what they're supposed to be being paid. So that's a big job right there in itself. We also take care of our website. And just so you know, our website is www.elkocity.com. And all of our departments' information is on our website. And city code is on there on our homepage, which is part of what I wanted to talk about business licensing. Every business, either it's a commercial enterprise, trade, or occupation, does need a city business license. There are a few exceptions to the business license, but lately we've been finding a lot of Airbnbs that aren't licensed, and so we've been working on getting that resolved, and it's been coming along very well, but people didn't realize that if they have a rental property that they're supposed to have a business license. And there's some exceptions. So like if you only have one rental property, then you don't need to have a business license. But if that rental property you're using as an Airbnb or a Vrbo or any thing like that, you do need to have your transient lodging license for that. You have to pay that walk-through tax that goes to, all of our community, like the Convention Center, Western Folklife Center, the Flight Alliance, the fairgrounds. That money gets dispersed to help, promote Elko and all of our activities that come into Elko. So that's very important.
Yeah, that is a big one. And I am glad that you brought that up, Annette, because that was one of the questions about the businesses, as you said, very new, lucrative and exciting investment opportunity. We see it a lot in the tree streets. And so it is helpful to know that VRBOs or Airbnbs, transient rental properties, are required to be licensed. And then that has to make the hoteliers and moteliers feel better knowing, because that is in competition with them.
That is definitely in competition. And, we need to be fair. So what transient lodging, it used to be called room tax. It's now transient lodging. So all hoteliers get a discount if they have people that are staying 28 days or more. So they're not having to pay the tax on long-term stays over the 28 days. But if they're under the 28 days, then they definitely need to be paying room tax. And, it's mandatory.
Exactly. It's by city ordinance.
It's city ordinance. State, is, it's even state required. So
That is interesting to know. So if anybody does have any questions about that, they should contact you?
They should contact me. My number is 775-777-7126. You can also contact Nicole, because she is in charge of our transient lodging tax. That's her number is 775-777-7127. And any questions about business license in general, like I said, there are a few exceptions to business license, but if you're making money or, I see people doing these pop-up, selling tamales. So there's like special event type permits that need to be done for that.
We used to call them peddlers licenses.
So we have, there's multiple licenses. We have solicitors, peddlers, temporary merchants, traveling shows, and special events on city property. So there's a lot of different type of permitting. So like a temporary merchant would be somebody that comes here, maybe once, so they can do a 30 days in a calendar year is basically what a temporary merchant, if they're selling. But they have to be approved by, our police chief, city planning. So there's building. We just have to make sure that what they're selling, if they're selling food, then they have to also have a health permit. So they need to get that in order. So we don't issue any of those permits without all those checks and balances.
And again, often it's a fairness issue. I remember, and you may remember this too, Annette, since you've been in the community as long as I have, that former Elko City Councilman Glenn Guthrie actually ran for city council because he and his family owned a furniture business. It was called Good Morning Furniture. Yeah. And it was offensive to local business owners who pay these taxes and bricks and mortar and all the expenses associated with business, because someone used to be able to just drive up, open the back of a truck and sell furniture, and there was no accountability, and that's not safe for the consumer either.
It's not. And even like the whole food thing, people that are selling tamales along the
along the streets.
Mm-hmm. They're not checked for health. So we don't have any idea that that's
Yeah, that could make people sick, right?
They could, definitely.
And you would hope, the best intent, obviously, that that's not happening, but that's just
It's an important checks and balances for our city and, and our community, so.
And so that's another important point, Annette. There are a lot of online sales, a lot of social media sales, and people that actually are promoting small businesses in the community, and some of them say, well, I'm in Spring Creek, so I don't have to have a license.
So if they are in Spring Creek, they are correct. They do not have to have a license unless they are selling their items within the city limits. So if they're selling their items coming into Elko, they do need to have a business license. So some things about that, we have a lot of homemade
cakes.
Cakes or any items type.
Items, okay, not just food. Yeah.
I've seen a lot of 3D printing items and stuff like that at all these special event, at the Igloo they do. They put on a couple times. Crafters,
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if they're just selling at those events, they will be included on the special event permit by whoever the sponsor is. So as long as but that charges the sponsor if they don't have a city business license. So if they have a city business license, then the sponsor doesn't have to pay them. And I know a lot of sponsors now are starting to, say, well, we have to pay extra for you, so either get a city business license or
we'll have to exclude you.
Yeah, we'll have to exclude you. So it
starts to add up, right?
It does, yeah. If you have 100 people, crafters at your event, and depending on the property, so there's different pricing for private and public property. So, but.
Well, would you say, Annette, has the city code been structured so, do you think it's fair or reflective? I know that the Elko Area Chamber of Commerce, they advocate a lot for small business, and I've recommended to people in small business when they have issues, go to your chamber and then they can help you understand these ordinances, right? And because there are different prices.
There are different prices. So if it's on city property for a business that's unlicensed, it's $34.50.
That shouldn't break the bank.
No.
Yeah.
But if it's on somebody's private property, like at the Igloo or whatever, it's only $6. So,
It's just an accountability.
yeah.
And if you're nonprofit, I guess if you're doing something for the Igloo, then you don't worry about sales tax, or
Right. So, nonprofit, we don't charge for the nonprofit organizations that are, because they're not usually selling anything. They're usually, giving out pamphlets or things like that to promote their nonprofit organization. So, there is no charge for nonprofits.
so that's usually just creating consumer confidence too. There's a protection there, so that way if you say you paid for a service or an item or something and then you didn't get the return on that, then there's also a record of that can help the consumer.
Correct. Yeah.
Annette Robinson is our guest, and she's the Elko City Clerk. And among the various functions of the clerk's office, that would be issuing business licenses. So we wanted to talk about maybe cottage foods. I guess we touched a little bit on that, right?
The cottage food permit comes from the health department. So if they are, they need to get their cottage food license if they're making home goods in their home and that they're in the city limits, then they can be in Spring Creek to get that. But if they're selling, like I said, if they're selling them here, peddling them here in Elko, they definitely need to have a city business license. And we make sure we get a copy of that health permit for that cottage license before we can issue a city business license.
And does the city of Elko issue licenses to food trucks? Annette, I know that's come up recently.
Oh, yeah. All food trucks are licensed within the city. There are some rules about where they can park. They can't be parked on any city street. They have to be at, a location that's off, if it's a private property, then on the property itself, not on the street. So,
and with adequate parking, we see, and things like that. And then in the city park, I've seen them, people apply for those spots there. They've been pretty competitive in the past.
Yeah, we have 6 spots that we rent out at the city park, at the main city park. Right now, I believe I have 1 available. Somebody gave up their 1 spot. So we have 5 that have paid for their spots, and
there's an opening.
There's an opening, yeah.
All right.
We'll bring that to council if somebody comes in and wants a spot at the city park. They're kind of a fixed little spots along Chris Sharon Way and right there on College. It's pretty close to, and of course, like, is it the tropical snow?
I was going to say the snow cones. They've been there since our daughter was little. Yeah, that's kind of a fixture for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So she's got her spot, and she doesn't want to give that up.
Understandably, and we wouldn't want her to either. So if you are interested and you have a food truck, and you can just call that number, 775-777-7126.
Yeah, or you can also call the business license department at 775-777-7138, and that you would speak with Sarah. She takes care of all of our business license. Some other things that have come up recently is dog and cat fanciers permits. People don't know what those are.
Yeah, they think collections of dogs or cats, but I mean, it could be breeders, people who just need a permit to keep dogs.
City code allows for 3 dogs or 3 cats.
Or a combination. You're only supposed to have 3 animals.
Actually, it does not say that.
Oh, interesting.
So
okay.
We can't enforce that.
Okay.
It doesn't say it that. It's not worded that way.
It's not that specific. So don't make waves out there. Yeah. Let's keep it that way. Be on the honor system. Yeah.
I think maybe that was their intent when it was written, but it doesn't specifically state that. So people can interpret it a little bit. Anyways, the dogs of 3 and 3 dogs, 3 cats. If you want a fanciers, if you want more than 3 dogs or 3 cats, you need to get a fanciers permit. That allows for 6 dogs or 6 cats. It's a yearly permit. What'll happen is you'll apply. Of course, if you have dogs, those dogs need to be licensed within the city. You can get your dog license at our animal shelter. So they need to have that, and then once they apply, and of course they need to have their rabies vaccinations ready available, so we can verify that they're protecting us from rabies, and then we'll call animal control. We'll send them the application, and an animal control officer will check your premises. Once they sign off, then we can issue that fancier's permit, and that is $125 a year. If you have more than that, there is one other exception. It's called a special use permit. That allows for 8 dogs or 10 cats. That one has the same protocol: fill out the application, dog license, and animal control goes and checks, but then it also needs to go to council, and then the council needs to approve that one. So
maybe an idea of would it be like an animal rescue, or would it just be an individual who wants that many animals?
An individual that wants that. That's what I've come across. Because mostly it's individuals that they didn't know they have 5 dogs, and they're like, I didn't know I needed, to have a
special permit.
Yeah, because they didn't know that there was a limit on dogs in the city limits. So.
Okay, and we're especially talking about these are requirements within city limits. However, if you are a county resident doing business within the city, you also need to have a business license. We talked about that too.
Yeah.
So the fancier's permits, those are available too at the Elko City Clerk's office.
And then the special use permit is $250 a year.
Okay,
So
and that one goes before council.
that one has to go before council, and they must approve it. Yeah.
So something else that's popped up, Annette, and you can't blame people for seeing an opportunity, but providing some sort of ad hoc taxi service, right? That's a whole different, yeah.
Yeah, and it's sad that our taxi service is has no longer in business. We've had a few inquiries of people wanting to, start their own taxi service, but
that goes through the Public Utilities Commission, right?
actually, it goes through the transportation department. So.
Oh, NDOT? Or?
No, it's a state. I can't even think of the name now. It's specific to taxis
Okay.
that they have to get a license, and I think it's kind of overwhelming, all that paperwork, because all your drivers need to be tested, and I kind of think that's what's happened. Plus, insurance purposes for providing for a taxi service has skyrocketed, and that's basically what happened with Elko Taxi.
A lot of liability.
Yeah, so they couldn't keep up with the insurance that they were having to pay. So
yeah, especially with the short trips, in and around Elko. So we don't have an on-demand service for transportation.
No. And so, so Uber drivers, they need to have a city business license if they're running in Elko.
Uber or Lyft.
Or Lyft, yep.
Mm-hmm. So
because they're state licensed, they need to be state licensed and city licensed.
Right. So someone, and that's the other confidence that goes into this, right? And that if someone thinks that they're getting an Uber or a Lyft ride, they need to have the confidence that that person is fully licensed, insured, that they've assumed the liability, and that the consumer is protected. You don't just jump in a car with a stranger.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
As of right now, I do not have any Uber or Lyft drivers licensed within the city.
All right. So if someone presents themselves, sadly, this situation happened, and I remember this very well because when Elko was a little smaller and we could get to more things, I attended a trial of a local man, and he was an older gentleman too, and he was providing an ad hoc taxi service, but he said, well, I wasn't charging people. They would just hop out and leave money on the seat. So, but that didn't fly. So,
No.
Yeah, so you can't even give rides with the intention of collecting money for gas. I mean,
Right.
if there's a
So,
transaction.
If
right?
there's a transaction, that's a business. You're providing a business within the city limits, then need to be licensed.
Do you see any relief for that? And I mean, it's not fair to ask you're not an elected official, but just sort of, since this is such a dire need, I know I talked to Assemblyman Burtker about it a couple times in the last week or so. We have a transportation desert here. We don't have a Greyhound bus anymore. I mean, we have Get My Ride, which is amazing.
And they definitely have stepped up and started providing more routes. I know that because of the taxi service has left, they have stepped up some, but I know we still have people that are wanting a taxi service, and if somebody's out there that wants to open up a taxi service, I can certainly help them and point them in the right place, what they need to do to start.
But it does require significant investment.
It's an investment, yeah. You need to have your cars.
Insurance.
Insurance is the big one, and then the transportation authority. It's Nevada Transportation Authority is what it is. That
NTA. I'm going to look that one up. Yeah.
They cover taxi services. So
interesting times that we're in. So again, contact Annette Robinson, our Elko City Clerk, if you do have an interest in providing some sort of taxi service, and hopefully she can point you in the right direction, because there has been a serious need for this.
Definitely.
Okay. Well, we want to make sure we're getting to all the important topics today. Annette, I know you mentioned that you maintain the city website, and that's actually overgone an overhaul. I think by the time your predecessor left, Kelly Wooldridge, she was able to kind of hand you a little better website that you guys have been tweaking, huh?
Yeah, we've definitely been tweaking. I've been trying to keep up with that. It's a big job. It's in itself.
It really is.
Because I get all the other departments send me all their stuff, and I'm, the one, and I'm now training, so I'm getting my staff trained to get all those other items on there. So
it's funny when the boss says, just get this on the website, and you think, that's going to take me like 3 hours. What should I set aside? Yeah, because they don't just magically appear on the website.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
Like this morning, I was putting something on the website for our for a contract that's just opened up today, and one of the documents would not load at all. Like it was not a clean document, so I was having some difficulties with that.
Yeah, just like anyone else, it happens with the city of Elko. So we've been talking again about the functions of the office, as you said, records management and archives. You're filling a position that people have left quite a legacy, and that city clerks tend to last at the city of Elko. Have you noticed?
Yeah, well, Kelly was there for 6 years, and God, Chanel before her was there forever. Can't even remember how many years.
And before her, Juliana Murphy.
Right?
Yes, exactly.
There was a couple in there in between Juliana.
Oh, Lori Lynch.
Lori Lynch, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's one other, I think, but
yeah.
No, it's a big job, but I love it. I've learned so much, and I'm still learning, so that always makes your job fun when you're learning new things. So,
does the city clerk also serve as a liaison with the city attorney's office, Annette?
Yeah, I deal with Dave Stanton, our attorney, and Michael Hanley, our deputy city attorneys.
Because I imagine with all those records to file.
Yep, actually, I've gotten records today from them. So, yeah. So, and of course, with the city council, our city manager, I'm kind of their right-hand person, helping them out. And
sometimes ordinances need to be researched, and if it doesn't go all the way to the city attorney, because they have a little different pay scale than the city clerk, right?
Right. So, like city ordinances, when those are coming up, we do some research, like back ordinances. Is this going to change an ordinance? So I get a lot of requests from other departments. Can you find out what happened here, or
Yeah, sometimes the history, because I know that Jan Baum mentioned you specifically by name recently, because you went all the way back several years to determine when the last time something was visited on council. You remember that? Yeah.
For the raises for the...
Yes, because it had been at least 10 years or something, yeah.
No, 1989.
Oh, 89, 1989. So
there's a lot of records to go through, yeah. So
that was the last mention, yeah.
That was the last time that, they were...
Wow.
And it didn't go in effect until 91. So the resolution was written in 89, but because you have to wait for when the old council's out before it can be in effect. So it didn't happen until 91. So
Right, because they weren't essentially giving themselves raises.
Yes. It's the new.
Yeah, it's their parting gift, so to speak.
Definitely.
So thank you for doing all of that research. It probably helps that you were a librarian before that, right, Annette?
That helps a lot. Yeah, I did a lot of research working for the Elko County Library for almost 7 years. So yeah.
So are there pleasant surprises when you're doing research? I mean, I'm one of those research nerds too. I don't have enough time to do it because I just have so many different things to do. I'm like you, right? But research can lead to really cool discoveries.
It can, and then it can lead into things that you're like, oh my God, I didn't know all that. I need to fix that, or yeah. So
that's true. It's come before council, a few fixes too, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you work very closely with our building department, community development.
All departments. Planning. I work really closely with planning because, like, home occupations. That's another thing, if you're living in the city limits, that you need to have in order to get a business license. So, because if you're doing a business from home, we need to know that, where your home is located is zoned okay for that, home occupations, because you can't have more than 5 people come to your home at one time. Parking, so there's some things that need to be taken care of. So home occupations and that comes out of our planning department. So.
That used to be a big thing for Elko, was converting older homes into apartments. I know we saw that. We've seen a lot of that in the tree streets, Annette, but hopefully that's not happening as much anymore as the city's approving more new housing, subdivisions, maybe some townhouses, places like that, apartments.
Yeah, there's been a lot of construction going on, like up North Fifth and East Jennings. So there's
So that should help with.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, because you've lived here a long time too, so you've seen the growth and lack of it. Yeah,
I won't say how long.
That's okay. People ask me sometimes. I think I don't know, but it's been a long time. So yeah,
or over 40 years.
Yes,
we'll put it that.
Yes, we'll put it that way. So. Talking with our city clerk today, and this is in between council meetings, so the council will next meet in regular session next Tuesday, right?
Next Tuesday, 28th at 4 o'clock.
Well, I want to make sure with the couple of minutes that we have left, Annette, did we get to most of your subjects today?
I think we got through a lot of them. The cemetery, if we can talk about
please,
that.
let's do. We'll close with the cemetery. Yeah.
So we sell cemetery plots at our city cemetery. Those plots are $400. So you can buy pre-need plots ahead of time. Also, you can pay for it's called an open and close, when we open the ground and then close it. And that's, there's a couple different prices. So depending on if it's a full body or a cremation, so full body, is $550, and that's during the week. If it's on a weekend or a holiday, it's $1,100, and then cremations is $275 during the week and $550 on the weekend. Of course, we're having to pay overtime to our staff at the cemetery. So.
And the city works closely with Burns, right? That's our only funeral home.
Yes, we do. So they usually, when somebody has passed, they'll go to Burns, and then Burns usually sends them to the city clerk's office, and then we will, if they don't have a plot, we'll find a location. Our city cemetery map is on our website, and so people can go and look prior to coming to see if there's a spot. And our key on there, it's all color-coded, so you can tell if they've already been purchased or somebody's buried in a spot, or if they're open, so you can kind of have an idea. So it's pretty cool how our GSI map overlays with our cemetery website. So.
And in fact, the city is already planning to maybe do a new city cemetery adjacent to our veteran cemetery, Annette? Or I think that's been discussed.
It's
Probably
been
not at your
discussed,
level.
not
Yeah.
at my level yet. So
Okay.
I've heard some,
Yeah.
but I don't know when that will happen. But yeah.
How close we are to running out of space. Yeah.
So we have more space right now. So the Freemasons and the Odd Fellows had gifted our, part of their section to the city. So we did expand. So we have quite a few more spaces now.
Okay, well, that's good to know. So, if you are making arrangements and doing those things, which will be much nicer for your family in the event of, which is inevitable for everybody someday, then you can also contact the city clerk.
Yep, so you can contact me or Nicole. Nicole's office number is 775-777-7127. But all of us are pretty much trained on doing that, so I'm trying to get everybody cross-trained. So,
So pick out your real estate now. Yeah. Yep.
it's good planning. I mean, because when the time comes, it's very difficult for people, and
those are hard decisions to make.
Yeah.
And thank you so much. It's always wonderful to visit with you. Appreciate the work that you do, and I know you have a lot to get back to.
I do. Well, thank you, Lori, so much.
Thank you, listeners, for joining us for Elko Live today here on KELK. We appreciate Annette Robinson, our Elko City Clerk, who's been our guest today on behalf of the City of Elko.